Hi everyone, for today's book review we're going to be looking at one of my favorite battleships. That ship is the HMS Agincourt, and the book is The Big Battleship by Richard Hoare. I like the Agincourt because what is there not to like? It was huge. It had 7 turrets. It was an anomaly. It didn't fit with the Royal Navy. It had a troublesome and protracted construction. It was originally built for the Brazilians, and then it went over to the Ottomans, and then just before the Ottomans took delivery, it was seized by the English and then used in their fleet for World War I, and then on the cusp of being converted into a revolutionary maintenance repair ship, it was scrapped. So the Agincourt is a great big ship of possibilities, almost all of which never worked out. Now, this book dates all the way back to 1966. This edition that I just showed you, and what you can see up there, is one of the later reprints. Some editions of this book will have 9 turrets from either the Nelson or the Rodney on the front cover, and many people are quick to criticize that. Being written in 1966, this book has a slightly, how do I put it, condescending view of the other navies involved, and it might put off some readers, so just flagging it. The tone of this book is a product of its own times. But perhaps you could just simply take it with a grain of salt and view it through a comedian's eye, because that's what I did. There are scenes depicted in this book that I think would have made a great Monty Python sketch. The idea of a Ottoman armory being dug into the ground, and then the only way you can get into it is through torchlight with an open flame. But enough about the tone, let's talk about the book. So Richard Hoare discusses the construction and the circumstances that led to the actual creation of the Agincourt. It was originally going to be named the Rio de Janeiro for the Brazilian Navy, but the Brazilians had a deep economic crisis. They couldn't afford yet another battleship, and so they sold it over to the Ottoman Empire, who were still feeling very angry that they had lost their last war against the Greeks and wanted yet another battleship to add to their fleet so they can win another war. Naturally, World War I came into play, and the British decided that no, the Ottomans would not be getting their battleship, and so they seized it and then commissioned it into their navy as HMS Agincourt, and as the crew started to call the ship a Gincourt. The crew, the Royal Navy crew who would operate Agincourt during World War I, all came from the former Royal Yacht. There's lots of fascinating details and personal anecdotes which enliven the text of this book, because as you no doubt you've seen, the tremendous bulk of this book is text. There are some black and white photos, mainly of the various personalities, admirals, designers, politicians involved in the various mechanics of what caused this ship to go from Brazilian to Ottoman to English. And there are a few shots of the Agincourt itself, which one you can see up there. There are no diagrams, there's no cutaways, there's no armor profiles, nothing like that. Having said that, it is the story of those who designed, who built, and who ended up crewing this ship that enliven the story of the Agincourt. Having been written in 1966, at the time it wasn't known that the Royal Navy wanted to convert this ship into a floating forward maintenance yard. That article was written in a recent warship volume with a fantastic cutaway, and hopefully in the upcoming book called Windfall Battleships, which will discuss Agincourt as well as some of the other acquired/seized battleships, such as the Erin and the Canada. We'll get some more information and a more complete look at the history of the Agincourt. Naturally, of course, it'll be written in a far more objective style. This book is a product of its time, but it does offer insights that may have otherwise been lost to history, such as the story of the young shipyard worker who found the only Turkish-English dictionary in his town's bookshop, took a loan from his sisters, bought it, and then basically learnt the language and guaranteed a job at the shipyard as a Turkish liaison. So there's lots of interesting stories here, and I feel that the history of HMS Agincourt has yet to be completely told. Certainly after Windfall Battleships, if a British historian teamed up with a Turkish historian and a Brazilian historian, and all of them pooled their collective resources to contribute to this story, then we would finally get the ultimate book of this tremendous, fascinating battleship. Some more information about the Agincourt can be found as well in Osprey's South American Battleships, which has a beautiful spread of the ship firing all of its 7 guns in an epic broadside. Because this book is incomplete and is dated, and yes, it is a product of its time, I will give it 3 stars. Sorry, I will give it 3 captain's hats. It is still worth having a read for understanding the political mechanics that led to this ship's creation, both by the Brazilians and the Turks, as well as the ultimate seizure by the English, as well as understanding just what it was like to man this fascinating battleship. And for that, it is worth a read. So if you do find it, highly recommend checking it out. And there you have it. And hopefully further down the track we can review the Windfall Battleships, which will hopefully add some more to the story of HMS Agincourt. If there are any other books about battleships that you're interested in, let me know in the comments below, and I can certainly dig them up through the naval section of my library. So until next time, enjoy and happy reading, everyone.